Hey Wargamers, welcome back to the channel, Death from Above Wargaming. I'm Aaron, coming back at you with more exciting quarantine content. So I've got another tactical report tonight, but very exciting. Not only am I doing a tactical report, but I am actually going to be debuting our Alpha Strike campaign rules. That's right, I have sunk to new levels of insanity and isolation. I will be playing an entire campaign against none other than myself. So it's coming right at you guys. I'm doing it for you. So basically, you guys have been asking for this, right? You've been asking for the campaign rules, and I didn't want to do anything with it until we had a chance to play test them. The team over at DFA obviously put a lot of work into it, but it's only as good as, you know, how much you test it and how much we actually play it. And of course, circumstances as they are, Kevin, Tom, and I really have not had a chance, and including the extended team, Rick, Ryan, Dan, all the guys, like, we just couldn't get together. It's crazy. So I decided to just take on the mantle here and give it a go. So what I'm working with here is a force point value of 700. That means each force gets to pick 700 points worth of Alpha Strike units. And at DFA, we have a recommendation for our campaign system. Of course, you can roll your own, but what we typically do is 12 mechs, 8 vehicles, 2 aerospace fighters, 4 infantry platoons. So that's what I did for each side. And of course, that's flexible, but that's the general guideline. So I stuffed those forces into 700 points, gives a nice gradient from light to assault mechs, good variety of vehicles, some interesting air assets, and of course, good old ground pounders. So tonight we are playing a 200-point intercept mission. And what we have is the 5th Atrean Knights facing off against the 7th Donegal Guard. So here's the story. It's 3051. The Atrean Knights have defected away from House Marik, and they're on their way with their jump ships to the clan front. Now, they stop over on the planet of Eaton, which is, you know, largely unpopulated, and they are refitting, they're repairing, they're getting ready for their final thrust into clan space. Now, according to my calculations, it takes about 100 days to jump from Coruscant, which is the home world of the Atrean Knights, all the way up to Eaton. So that's a lot of time in space. So they're basically on the ground doing some maneuvers, and then the Donegal Guard show up. Of course, there's political work here going on. Some of the lords in House Marik, some of the minor houses are not pleased with the Atrean Knights, and they want to send them a message. So the Donegal Guard are persuaded to attack. However, in this mission tonight, and this campaign in general, since the Atrean Knights are on foreign soil, they're going to be treated as the attacker as far as the campaign goes. So they had the opportunity to pick the first mission, and it's going to be, again, intercept, 200 points. Let's check out which each force is bringing to the table. All right, so on the side of the Atrean Knights, we have a direct fire lance, and of course some armor and infantry here backing them up. So let's talk about the direct fire lance. This is Queen Lance, led by none other than Vegas herself in her trusty Rifleman 4D. She's backed up by Longshot and a Catapult C1, a Commando 5S, and a Wasp 2A. So these mechs are, pretty much fitting the mold of that direct fire lance. I got 2 light mechs to kind of run the forward vanguard, and then of course the Rifleman and the Catapult. Very good there with damage all the way out to extreme range. They will get the Weapon Specialist rule, which, most likely I'll be allocating to the Rifleman and the Catapult. So if I miss by a margin of 1, so for example, if I need a 7 to roll to hit and I roll an 8, I do half damage down to a minimum of 1 point. So that's pretty good. It's not bad at all. The other important thing to note here, the Wasp 2A, this is a custom build. So I've created, using the rules in the errata and some of the Alpha Strike books, not in the Commander's Edition, but the prior ones, there are rules to basically convert classic Battletech stats into an Alpha Strike card. So I actually built some software that will do that. You plug in the basic stats, and it works for some of these Inner Sphere mechs up to about the Clan Invasion era. I haven't gone beyond that yet, but this is pretty exciting. So this Wasp swaps the SRM2 out for an LRM5, some other minor changes there. So it was able to generate a card for that Wasp, which is again very exciting, gives you the point value and all. Now on to Rook Lance. So Rook Lance is my vehicle. So we've got 2 Scorpion light tanks. Love these things. These are skill 4 and they cost 11 points, so very cheap, great bang for your buck. And they're just an annoyance, right? Just not too much armor, 1 point of damage across the board. They're great for just plinking at things and holding down objectives in the backfield. And then I have the Mighty Rommel tank. So this is a 30-54 refit. Now I know we are playing in the 30-51 time frame, but you know, I mean, there are prototypes floating around for sure. So this is one of them, and very excited to field this thing. This is a new model I purchased from, of course, Aries Games and Minis. Recently had it painted up here, so very excited to get this one on the table. And then I've got the 5th Atrean Airborne, the Ravens. This is a Kestrel VTOL, and then I've got 2 foot platoons fielding laser cannons there. So these guys are just great. I plan on using the optional rules for zip line and low altitude deployment basically to get them into backfield objectives as quickly as possible. But that is the force here. That's the Atrean Knights. All right, and on the side of the 7th Donegal Guard, we have, of course, a Battle Lance. This is a medium Battle Lance. Looking for those delicious rerolls. You get 6. I said this last week. This seems unfair, but interested to see how this pairs up against the direct fire lance. Last week, both teams had lucky. This week, only one has lucky, probably by design. I really wanted to just see how it shook out. But anyway, we've got Merlin. We've got a Merlin. MLN 1A. This is a great frontline mech. It's got damage across the board all the way out to extreme range. Does have an overheat value of 1, 6 pips of armor, 5 in structure. So very tough, hard to bring down. Love this mech. That's piloted by Blaster. He is the leader of this lance. We have a Centurion AL, also 6 armor, very tough. So wanted to bring a lot of armor to this fight in the front. And then they're backed up by 2 faster mechs. I've got a Vulcan 2T, and then just the blazing fast Locust 1E. So the Locust, hopefully going to be able to move around, cap some objectives. The Vulcan and the Locust both lack long-range firepower here. The Vulcan has a 0-star at long range, similar to that Wasp, but the Locust, of course, has nothing past medium, but hoping the speed will compensate for that. And then I've got the 7th Donegal Armored Brigade. And these are basically the tanks and the hovercraft. I've got 2 Savannah Masters, very fast, able to get in there, cap those objectives. One of the most annoying units in the game. But, you know, again, they're not cheap, 15 points a pop. These are skill 4. And then I have 2 skill 3 LRM carriers. And LRM carriers, I can't say enough about how brutal these things are. But I think fairly balanced because they are weak on the armor side. So I'll need to keep them safe, but they can rain death on just about anything. Interested to see how these 2 forces pair up, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. All right, guys, so there it is. We looked at the forces, we looked at the mission, we talked about the fluff, we talked a little bit about the campaign and how we calculate the points and all these things. We'll certainly have a Hyperpulse uplink once we nail down and finalize these rules where we walk through each sort of phase of the campaign, similar to what we did on the Battletech, classic Battletech side. So, all of that said, I'm ready. I hope you are. Let's get to it.
Supply convoy. We are under attack. Enemy battle mechs do not know what is happening. Somebody help. Send incoming.
Comms are breaking up. Say again? Please respond. Recon, this is Vegas. Where the hell are you?
I'm on the right, 235 from your position. Lieutenant, I think the Donegal Guard just nuked our supply convoy.
Base, Vegas here.
This is Falcon. What's your status?
Captain, the Donegal Guard just opened fire on one of our convoys. Sending you the feed now. All the vehicles are destroyed. The hell is going on, boss?
I don't know. I am mobilizing the rest of the regiment right now. Regroup. Get a foothold in those highlands. I'm sending reinforcements. They'll be in your position in 26 minutes. You're free to engage at will. Good luck. Falcon out.
All units, form up on my lead. Pick your targets.
Here we are on the battlefield of Eaton, just prior to the mechs moving onto the battle grid. So the first order of business in Intercept is to place 6 objectives on the board, going back and forth, alternating, and so each team plays. Now, of course, because the Donegal Guards are the defender, they get to pick which side of the board they want to deploy on. So they decided they wanted that side of the battle grid. Now, I picked that for the Donegal Guards because my thought is if the LRM carriers are up on this hill, they have a nice commanding view of the entire hillside here. So that's the thought pattern there. That means the Atrean Knights are deploying over on that side of the battle grid. So again, we've got 6 objectives. We've got number 1. We've got another one over there, 1 in the middle, and we have another one sort of in open ground here. So 2 in this gully, and then we've got 1 just on the edge of the forest there, and then 1 all the way up there by that communications facility. So we'll see. Now remember, these objectives do not go hot until the beginning of turn 2. So that's when the first objective will be rolled for, but we will start moving the forces onto the battle grid, starting with the Donegal Guard. It's coming right up. Here we are, turn 1. Because this is a campaign, because there is a defined attacker and defender, the defender gets to pick their side of the battle grid, their home edge, but they also have to deploy first. So that's sort of the pro and con. So the Donegal Guard will be moving on first. Now I'm going to continue with the moving 1 whole lance at a time. I really like the way that played out. There is, of course, some limitation in tactical flexibility, but it does make it go so much quicker in these large-scale games. And I also think it drives unit cohesion a little bit on the meta level. You're thinking about how you're going to position the individual units sort of as a broader lance or formation. So the first thing we want to do here is get our LRM carriers onto the table, and I want them in this area here. So I'm going to just sprint these guys on the board. Now, while I'm sprinting, I do want to talk to you about a modification to one of our house rules. So as you know, we play with a house rule where if you sprint, you get an increase in TMM, and that's great, except for when you're a Savannah Master or really anything, and you move, 1.5 inches and claim a +5 TMM. So, Kevin, Tom, and I, and some others, we were chatting about this and trying to figure out what was the best way to mitigate it. And Kevin came up with the notion that if you can reach the same point on the map with using a standard move, you don't get the bump in TMM. So that means that, if I have to go around, a bunch of mountains or something like that, and, I don't go very far, but it is, I do need to use my sprint to get there, you can get the bump in TMM. But if I'm just moving from here to here and I try to claim a sprint, that's fine, you just don't get the bump in the TMM. So I like that. I think that helps to balance it out and is as in the spirit of classic Battletech. But speaking of sprinting, I'm going to zip this little Savannah Master here right up the field there. And I'm going to move the second Savannah Master right to here. All right, so to keep things balanced here, I am going to move all the vehicles together. That means that the Kestrel and the tanks are all going to count as, sort of one formation for purposes of this game. And when the infantry are deployed, they'll just have to move alongside the Kestrels and the tanks as well. So I think that seems reasonable to me versus having to do all the mental gymnastics of having an unequal number of units here. So I'm going to fly this Kestrel on. I want to get it down here. Now both infantry units are aboard this Kestrel. This is technically the medevac Kestrel, so it has the MASH 6 ability alongside the IT3 ability. That means I can convert, per the rules, the MASH ability to half its value in IT. So I basically have IT6 on this thing, so I can carry two platoons, 2 foot platoons at least, in this Kestrel. So pretty cool. So I'm going to move the Kestrel there. This Rommel tank, I do want to make sure that it is in the thick of the fight, potentially even supporting some of these light mechs. So we're going to put the Rommel tank right here. Now these Scorpions, on the other hand, these guys are great for holding backfield objectives. So I think what I'm going to do is just rumble these guys in. This is a level 6 hill, by the way, so I want to put them on level 5 here, just below the highest level. And I'll put them in a little armor column and I'll sprint those guys in as well. All right, so back on the other side of the table here, fun fact, this Kestrel, I should point out, is at level 5. So I do have to declare what level that that VTOL is flying at. So it is flying at level 5. The trees, we typically play with level 3 trees. So these are actually up to level 4 because they're sitting on a level 1 hill. So these are level 4 trees. So level 5 will give me the ability to fly over here and deploy my infantry back here if I need to. So we'll see how that goes. Now I need to move on Shatterlands. That's the code name here for these Donegal Guard. And we've got Blaster here in his Merlin. I'm just going to have him sprint in to here, followed up by Rhino in his Centurion. Now I want to have Roadrunner in the Locust sprinting forward here. He's going to head for the hills, as it were, try to tackle that backfield. I'm not too concerned about the Locust trying to take on those Scorpions. I think I could outmaneuver them and potentially do some damage. And I want to keep the Vulcan close by. I think I'm going to move him right about there, sprinting that unit as well. All right, these Atrean Knights are up. Gotta think about what I want to do here. I do think that I want to move these lighter mechs, I think along the side here. So I'm going to sprint them, and you know, it looks like I can get one of them downhill here. So I'm gonna put the commando here, have him basically spin that downhill movement to start. Unfortunately, I'm not going to get the full 9 inches just because of the way the distance to the edge of the hill is. And then as far as the catapult and the rifleman. So the catapult is slightly more maneuverable because it does have jump jets. So I think I want to sprint the catapult into here. I really don't have much that can contest this middle yet. That bothers me. I guess I can run these 2 mechs if I need to, but that Savannah Master is going to be there well before I am. So hopefully Objective 2 does not go hot first. We'll find out soon. Still need to figure out what I'm doing with Vegas here, though. I'm tempted to... I think what I want to do is just run her along this ridge line here. And then if I need to, I can move her down. This will give her a nice commanding line of fire. And if I can get her up in this space, once I'm in medium range, she has that Overheat 2 ability on the mech, which is phenomenal in my opinion. So it's great. It's a nice spot for a good hit and fade. She can use these big boulders as cover. And so I think that's what we're going to do. So that wraps up movement, guys. Everybody on the board has sprinted, so there will be no shooting. Well, of course, with the exception of the Kestrel, because VTOLs cannot sprint, but it doesn't have any weapons. So nobody can shoot. Moving right into turn 2. All right, let it begin. Turn 2. This is when things get hot. So we're going to roll a d6 here, guys, and whatever number I roll corresponds to one of these objectives. They are numbered again. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Here we go. So there it is. Number 2 goes hot. That's the one the Atrean Knights did not want. That Savannah Master well positioned to get an early control point on that objective. All right, so there it is. Number 2 now hot. Prior to rolling for the objective, I rolled for initiative. The Atrean Knights lost 9 to 11. So very good roll by the 7th Donegal Guard. Thinking about what I need to move here, I am going to in fact start with the vehicles. I think I know exactly what I want to do with them, regardless of what the Donegal Guard do. So we're going to advance here with the Scorpions, and I'm going to actually sprint them. So I'm going to move this one ahead of the objective, and then this one going to move just behind the objective here. On the Rommel, I want to move him, but not sprint. I'm moving him right up to the cusp of this hill. That way he'll be well positioned to make a downhill move next turn. It also should give him some line of sight to anything that's closing in on Objective 2. So that Savannah Master is going to have something to think about. And then what I'm going to do here with the Kestrel is some shenanigans. Again, we talked about those level 4 forests. I'm going to move this guy in 11 inches. Now it does have a move of 12, so I'm going to spend that last point of movement to drop him down 1 level so that he is actually the same height as the forest, which means that forest would block line of sight, or at least give him cover. So we'll have to see what the angle of fire is, but from those LRM carriers, that's what I'm worried about the most. I think they would be hard-pressed to see the Kestrel. Okay, so I think that the vehicles are going to be super critical here. So I'm actually going to start with the Battle Lance, the medium Battle Lance here, and I'm going to move the mechs forward. I need to check range here. So this Merlin, not quite in range. I'm looking at his walk speed plus 30 inches to see if I'm in range here. But still, I am going to walk this Merlin. I'm actually going to start with the Centurion does not have extreme range, so we're going to just sprint him forward like that. And then we're going to walk the Merlin up to about there. So we will mark this Centurion so we remember we sprinted there. We're also going to sprint this Locust up the hill. So we're going up 1, 2, 3 levels. So I could go 9 inches up. So actually I can get right to here, which is pretty impressive. And then this Vulcan. I think I'm going to move this Vulcan sprinting to here. Again, the Vulcan lacking extreme range. Queen Lance, led by Vegas. These guys have their work cut out for them. So I thought about moving the lighter mechs down the gully here, but I feel like they would get absolutely shredded, potentially by LRM fire from those LRM carriers, and I really don't want to lose them this early in the game, let alone at all. So I am going to keep them committed to this outside flank. That way at least we have something to contest over here too besides infantry. So I am going to sprint them. I'm going to sort of flip-flop here. I'm going to move this Commando out wide, and then I'm going to move this Wasp in a little bit closer here. Again, this thing with some LRM capabilities here, courtesy of the modifications. So we're going to move the Wasp there, and we're going to keep the Commando again out on that flank there. The Catapult has a very straightforward move. I'm going to spend 1 to move them up. And then as far as Vegas goes, so I thought about moving her downhill so that I had line of sight to that hovercraft if need be, but I think I'm going to stay the plan. I want the elevation. I want the ability to potentially hit that Locust and provide some support, because these Scorpions, I think they'd have trouble killing the Locust on their own. But with that Rifleman, I mean, the Rifleman's basically capable of one-shotting it with a good roll. So that's that. Okay, we're ready to move with the Armored Brigade here. So these LRM carriers, I'm going to move them towards Objective 1 right here. I do, however, want to just cruise them. I don't want to sprint. This way I have some extreme range fire options here against some of these vehicles and mechs out on this right flank. So there's that. And this hovercraft can't sprint. Remember, so this is a good explanation of our sort of modified house rule here. Remember, you get the +1 TMM if you sprint. What we're trying to avoid is I move here and then I sprint. Well, I've only moved 3 inches. Is that fair? In classic BattleTech, you would not get the additional bump there, because again, it's based on how far you move. But this is sort of an abstracted system. So the simple detail is if I can make this move without needing to go beyond my basic move, which for this is 13 inches, then I don't get the bump in TMM. This guy, for example, if I move 20 inches, clearly it's the only way I could get there is by sprinting. So we don't allow people to drive in circles and get the bump in TMM, if that makes sense. So I digress. Basically, I'm going to move this hovercraft to here. Again, he's got 13 inches of movement, so that's more than enough. And that's a standard move, and so that's going to grant him his standard TMM of 4, which is still tremendously high. And I think putting him here might block line of sight from that catapult. And then this other hovercraft, what I want to do is I want to move this thing back to here. All right, so that's a standard move. And the reason I'm doing that is because next turn I can blast him in to that central objective if I need to and get that full sprint TMM. We're going to start with Vegas in her Rifleman. She has no shot on the Savannah Master. Her best shot, I think, here is against that Locust. She is at long range. Does 2 points of damage at long range and needs 10s to hit that Locust. So that Locust, again, looking at a TMM of 4, it did move the requisite distance to claim that bonus to the TMM. So looking for 10s, do 2 damage, but I am going to chain fire, so just 1 at a time. Here we go, first shot. That's a point of damage, not bad. Second shot. All right, so just 1 point on that locust. That's a great opening shot. Okay, after thinking about it here, this catapult, long shot, doing what he does best, firing across the battlefield, 30 LRMs into the LRM carrier. I'm going to start putting some hurt on those things. Who knows, maybe I can get a good motive hit. So I need an 8 to hit that LRM carrier. That's not bad. Skill 3 at TMM of 1, and then +4 for the extreme range. So here we go. About a 40% chance to hit. Can we get it? We cannot. All right, so missiles sail wide. Now lastly, we have this Rommel tank sighting down the Savannah Master. Can just see it over the rise. Now I am at long range here, so the Rommel tank doing 2 points of damage, needs 10s to hit. So similar to Vegas, the Rommel will be chain firing. Here we go. First shot. Remember, one shot puts this thing in force withdrawal. They're very fragile, very fast. So close, so close. So Gauss and the laser zipping by that Savannah Master, but it survives. Now, moving on to the side of the Donegal Guard. Donegal Guard hatching a vicious plan here. They've got their eyes set on that catapult just at the top of the rise, threatening. So they are going to try to take it out. We have 2 LRM carriers, each firing 2 points of damage in. That is going to need 8s to hit. Here we go. I'm going to group fire it. That is a rough opening. So 2 points of damage and a critical hit from that 12. What is it going to be?
Critical hit. Leg.
7. So that catapult leg getting just drilled by LRMs, not a great start. On to the second LRM carrier. Same deal. Needed 8s. So that is another point of damage. So that's 3 points of damage on that catapult, along with a motive hit. And Blaster in his Merlin is about to send a PPC shot sailing across the battlefield. Ready to open fire here on long shot. Needs an 8 as well. All these guys are skill 3. Same mods. It's one of the things I like about Alpha Strike. Another point of damage. That catapult down 80% of its armor just in turn 2 here. So guys, that wraps it up. The Donegal Guard scoring 1 control point on that central objective, but again, you need to hold it for 2 turns to score an objective point. So we'll see what happens next round. I don't know if any of the Knights can get there, but we'll find out. Turn 3 is coming right up. All right, welcome to turn 3. So the Avatar Knights nailed a 12 on the initiative roll, the Donegal Guard with a 10. So the Avatar Knights will have initiative this round. That'll be important, but we have to roll to see which objective is going to go hot. Again, we have 4, 5, 6, 1, and 3 available. Now, if I roll a 2, I have to re-roll. And just remember, guys, only 5 of these objectives in total will go hot. So we do this through, turn basically 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and then after that, you lose the whatever objective is left is just removed from the board. So you don't know which 5 out of the 6 are going to go hot. Here we go. Which one's next? Number 3. So that is definitely in favor of the Donegal Guard. They don't have anything aside from the Savannah Master here. Maybe I'll back that Vulcan up. We'll see. Donegal Guard are going to have to make the first move. All right, here we are. Number 3 is hot. And of course, these Knights definitely feeling the pressure now. And the Donegal Guard need to start thinking about backing up that Savannah Master with something else. The only thing that can get there is either the other Savannah Master or this Vulcan. In that regard, I'm going to move the Mech Lance first. And what I'm going to do with this Battle Lance here is I'm going to just, do I want to sprint it? Might as well. I'm going to sprint him back, get that maximum TMM up. So move the Vulcan to there. Walking this guy forward. The Centurion, I'm going to kind of squeeze him through here and walk him up to there. And then as far as this Locust is concerned, I'm not sure that I want to fully tangle with that Rifleman yet. And considering we currently have a strong lead on this side of the board, I might actually back this Locust down the hill to here. And just claim, again, that's not a sprint move because I could have done that with my normal move, so I'm just going to claim the +3 TMM, but I feel like the Locust is far enough away now. And again, it's already sustained a point of damage, so I think at this point, probably just smart to keep it protected. Alright, so on the side of the Atrean Knights, there's just tons to think about here. You know, the catapult, I have to protect it. The light mechs, I got to figure out what to do with them. The rifleman needs to have better line of sight. What do I do with the scorpions? So many variables here, but I think I am going to start with the mech lands because I have the clearest vision of what I need to do there. And frankly, the LRM carriers are just going to be a threat to anything, no matter what I move. So this catapult can only move 2 inches here, and basically I'm going to spend that to get into the edge of the forest here. Because of the mobility hit, the MP hit here, he gets no TMM now. Now, as far as the rifleman, I'm going to jump her forward here, and when I say jump, I really mean walk. I'm just going to shuffle her up here. And then the Wasp and the Commando. So the Commando's job is going to be spotting for that catapult if I need to do indirect fire. So I want to move him aggressively up here, and again, he can move 8 inches, counting the sprint and also the level 1 hill there. So he's going to get a sprint move, which is very good. And then I want to take this Wasp and I want to move him out to here. Now onto the vehicles here. I think these LRM carriers are just going to keep doing what they're doing. I'm going to move them up forward here. That way, if this number 1 objective goes hot, they will be able to contest it, which is fantastic. And again, they have that commanding sort of line of sight that I envisioned at deployment. They can hit pretty much anything on the table right now, which is fantastic. And then as far as these Savannah Masters go, well, I'm going to take this one and zip it around to here because I do need to move it at least 1 inch per the rules as written. Otherwise, it really counts as being stationary. But that's not going to be a sprint move for that one. And then this one, of course, I have a full 20-inch move, so I can move this one to here. So as I survey the battlefield, the one thing that occurs to me is maybe the appropriate move here is not to sink tons of firepower into these almost impossible to hit hovercraft, and instead try to sink some fire into that Vulcan in the backfield. So I need to do some math, but I know the rifleman's in range. Those scorpions can very easily be in range. I only need to do 4 points of damage to the Vulcan to put it into forced withdrawal. So I need to do some measuring, need to do some math here. But what I definitely am going to do one way or the other is advance these scorpions. Because again, if I put a couple points on that Vulcan this turn, what I can do is finish it off, or at least put it into withdrawal next turn, which keeps that Locust sort of at bay. So I'm going to rumble this one Scorpion up here, and I'll move the other one up right here. Just standard move. That way they can fire those long-range AC-5s. Now the Rommel tank, I was initially going to move him down into the valley, but now I'm wondering if I should keep him along the rise here, or even potentially just plant him because he is at long range to both. That one's questionable, but he is at long range to both, so that might be what I want to do. So I think I'm going to keep this Rommel tank just planted right here. Now onto the Kestrel. Okay, so for this Kestrel, we are going to be moving it 11 inches. We're going to spend 1 to go up to level 5, and we're going to move it 11 inches right beyond this rock pile here, guys. So there we are, and what we're going to do is we're actually going to zip line deploy both of our infantry squads. Now I need to make rolls here to make sure they don't take damage. If I fail, they do take 1 point of damage. I need to just make a 5 or better. Whew, that was close. Second, they make it. So both platoons will be deployed successfully. All right, so everything has moved. Turn 3 shooting already, guys, coming right up. Here we are surveying the battlefield here, the Gully of Death. So these 2 Savannah Masters in the middle, they won't be shooting at anyone. No line of sight, no range. Same thing with this Locust here and the Vulcan that sprinted. However, those nasty LRM carriers are going to be staying on that catapult. 2 points of damage at extreme range. They're going to need 8s again, even though that catapult doesn't have a TMM. It is now in the woods. They're only traversing through you know, basically less than 1 inch of woods, you know, up to 1 inch of woods, I should say. So we are going to group fire. First LRM launcher, just 1 point of damage. That catapult stripped of armor. The second LRM carrier, fortunate. That's bad news for the Donegal Guard. That could have been a critical blow there and a critical hit. So that catapult's still holding on. Now, this Centurion, only in range of Vegas, he's going to take a shot up at her. Now, he's at long range, so he's going to need a 6, 7, 8 due to the cover. Here we go. Gets it. So 1 point of damage. Large laser, LRM, something there, blasting in at that rifleman.
We're way better than these guys. Come on.
This Merlin. Guess I'm going to go for the catapult again. Need that 8. Here we go. Can we get a critical hit? Can. Alright, so it's internal damage. That catapult 1 point away from being in forced withdrawal.
Holy crap, I'm getting wrecked here. Pulling back a little bit.
Critical hit. Weapon destroyed.
So that's going to be problematic. That catapult is hurting, smoke pouring out of the chassis. Donegal Guard have dealt a telling blow, but now onto the Atrean Knights. What are they going to do? Let's find out. So I think we have to go for those Savannah Masters there in the central gully. This Rommel tank has limited options, as does Buzz here in the Wasp. So I'm going to start with the Rommel tank. It needs only 9s only to hit that forward Savannah Master. I get 2 shots at long range. Landing one of them puts it in forced withdrawal. No good. Buzz is up in the Wasp, firing. I think I'm going to fire at that forward Savannah. Actually, I'm sorry, the rear Savannah Master. And that's because Vegas can actually see that front one too, so I can always divert her fire. And I do plan on indirect firing with the catapult at that back one. So we'll see. We need some miracles here, some really high rolls. No good. Well, at this point, I missed the first 2 shots. There's no point in diverting any more firepower to those Savannah Masters. It would need a miracle to hit. The catapult would need a 12. Vegas would need 10. So we're going to go for that that LRM carrier there, the forward one. Actually, the one closest to the infantry, I should say, with long shot in his catapult. Now, of course, he took that weapon hit, so this is the last extreme range shot I can take of the game. Just not lucky for the Atrean Knights right out of the gate here. But here we go. He is going to need an 8 to hit. Get it. All right, so that's 1 point of damage on that LRM carrier there. Motive hit time. I need a 9. Well, looks like the luck goes around. So that LRM carrier is immobilized, which means as soon as it's put into forced withdrawal, 1 point of internal structure damage will have that crew abandon the vehicle. So that's huge. That's a key shot and worth it. Scorpions are up next. Now these guys have some options. I thought about shooting the Centurion here in the center of the field, but I don't know, it's not really threatening anything, and the most adjacent objectives to it are already hot, so it's got a long way to go. It doesn't move very fast, so I can gun that thing down if I need to. I'm thinking about taking my chances with this Vulcan. I need 10s to hit it, which is not an easy number, but if I can, again, put a couple of points on it, I might be able to peel it off that objective next turn and just force that Locust to stay in the backfield. I don't know. So I'm going to take at least 1 shot on the Vulcan, and then I'll decide. So we're going to start with this this Scorpion here on the Vulcan. Need a 10. No good. So I think what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to abandon that plan entirely. I got no luck, and I'm going to shoot the Centurion. Need an 8. Unreal. Doesn't matter anyway. So now what am I going to do with Vegas? Well, I think since nothing else is damaged, what I am going to do is shoot the Savannah Master that she can see in the front there that has a TMM of 4. So she is going to be at long range, so she'll have 2 opportunities here. Of course, I will be chain firing due to the obscenely high TMM on this unit. So she's going to need a 7, 8, 9. She's going to need 10s to hit. Now remember, if I roll a 9, It does, half damage to a minimum of 1. Of course, I could only get that once, right? So if I roll 2 9s here, I only get 1 point of damage. Or, I'm sorry, yeah, 9s. So here we go. I need 10s, but if I roll 9s, magic could happen. Here we go. That's not magical.
You must be kidding me.
Well, we got some luck with the immobilization hit, but fortune is not completely favoring the Knights here. So the Donegal Guards capturing that central objective, doing an excellent job there, and then putting 1 control point on this backfield objective here. Shooting is now done. We're going into turn 4, guys. Stay tuned. It's turn 4. The score is 1 objective point to none with the Donegal Guard in the lead here. So what we need to do now is roll to see which objective is going to go hot. Obviously, objective 2 gone because it is captured now, completely scored by the Donegal Guard. So we have 4, 5, 6, and 1 left. Here we go. All right, so we're going to re-roll that. 3. 3 was already rolled as well. 6. Okay, so that is by that wasp. That is actually probably the least ideal for the Knights, as that is right in the firing lane and, of course, the driving lane of those Savannah Masters. It's just dice not turning up in the Knights' favor. On top of that, they lost initiative. The Knights are up first. Okay, so here we are on the side of the Knights. A couple important housekeeping items. I should have mentioned this at the beginning of the turn. I guess it is kind of the beginning of the turn, but the weapon specialist rule is going to go to Vegas and the Rifleman, and also Buzz and the Wasp. The catapult with the weapon hit and everything else going on, I just don't think that that's a smart move. Now, I do need to keep that catapult alive, and I do want him there to cap objective 5 if it does go hot. So what I'm going to be planning on doing with the catapult is backing it into the woods and just using it for indirect fire. That's about the best I can hope for right now. So considering where we're at, I think Buzz here in the Wasp is probably the most valuable player on the field. Thankfully, that commando very close by to help cap. And of course, the Rommel tank nearby as well, although I don't think I actually want to move the Rommel tank. What I expect to happen is the Donegal Guard are going to scream those 2 hovercraft up. They're going to be very difficult to hit with that +5 TMM. So what do I want to move first? So I think I want to move my vehicles. And so what we're going to do here is start out with some real simple moves here. I'm not going to move the Rommel. I'm not going to move either of the Scorpions. I don't want them to have to go down this hill and then come back up in case this objective goes hot. But we'll see. We'll see what happens here. Okay, so this Kestrel has a move of 12. So I can move him 8 inches to here and then be a cheese ball and bring him down to level 2 so that he is hidden completely behind this building, which is perfect because he can be there for a quick evac if I need to get these infantry out. Some interesting fun facts, guys. The LRM carriers are actually not on a turret, so I could actually move this infantry platoon here and be completely out of line of sight. I need to move them back just a little bit further here and be out of line of sight of that LRM carrier and still have range to shoot it, which will be hilarious and unfortunate for the LRM carrier. So we're going to move the 1 platoon there. And as far as the other platoon goes, this is a good question because I don't want to waste them, but I do want to harass this LRM carrier here. So I'm going to sprint this platoon to here and leave those guys there. All right, so I have some decisions here with the Donegal Guard. Now, I am getting a little bit nervous about this Vulcan because I'm not going to be able to sprint and claim the higher TMM, which means those Scorpions who are now stationary will have a much easier time by a substantial percentage rate to hit that Vulcan. So I may want to move this Locust back to support this objective and ensure that I capture it. So I'm going to move the Vulcan to here, and that's going to give him basically that's going to give him a +2 TMM. And then I'm going to move the Locust as well. So the Locust is going to go downhill, and I can move him 9 so that he gets his maximum TMM. Again, that's more than what I would have been able to move with my standard move, so that gives me that TMM bump. And as far as the rest of the battle lance here, I think what I want to do is start pressuring the middle. So I'm going to move this guy here, and this guy here. Now keep in mind, you know, I'm thinking about the campaign long game. I don't want to have these guys like out on a limb somewhere where they're totally out of support, because if they do get damaged or put into forced withdrawal or even killed, you know, that's easy enemy salvage. So I need to be smart about where I'm moving these guys. I feel real good about that move there. So here's the challenge. The challenge is that Merlin, that Centurion, are going to be in long range of that Wasp no matter what I do. So I think what I'm going to do is actually jump the Wasp to keep that TMM up and move him as close as possible to those Savannah Masters while staying in range. Now that other LRM carrier can move no matter what, so I think that Wasp is going to end up getting shot, you know, one way or the other. So at least we get the TMM bump from jumping. Feel good about that. Now this the Commando, I can actually keep him up on this hill in the woods here. It's not a sprint move, unfortunately. So maybe in that regard, I do actually want to move him downhill and sprint him to here. So I think what I'm going to do is, again, I have just very little movement to work with here, so I can move him to there, kind of keep him in the woods. I mean, those LRM carriers may shoot at him, and if they do, to be quite honest, I'll take it. He'll have a +2 bonus from being in the woods. And then as far as Vegas is concerned, I'm expecting very much the Savannah Masters to be here. She should be well within long range, and if they decide to move back in here, I mean, you know, that's a bold move, and they'll get cornered pretty quick, but they would have to still be within her extreme range capability, but debating on whether or not I just want to keep her still. I think I'm going to. Okay, so obviously this guy's not going anywhere, so he's going to get that, and we've got this other LRM carrier. I can move him to about here. And now we have these Savannah Masters, so there's really only one play here, and that is to sprint full bore forward and try to get behind all those mechs. Alright guys, so there it is, hotly contested, movement is done, we're basically heading into shooting now, turn 4. That, and Donegal Guard really in control of this battle. You know, this basically impossible to peel the mechs off of it, and then of course that far objective now harassed by these Savannah Masters, and the whole middle just underpinned by these nasty LRM carriers and the core of this medium battle lance. We'll see what the Knights can do. They start shooting first. Lots of options for the Atrean Knights, lots of things to think about. The Savannah Masters unable to be shot at by the Wasp outside of long range against Vegas. Long shot's going to need a 12 to indirect fire against any of them. The Rommel has a pretty decent shot, but we'll see here. And of course the Vulcan moving out of range of those Scorpions, so the Scorpion's really left to just shooting that Centurion. So that's where we're going to start, because that is really the only shot we have. So the Scorpion's going to need a 7 to hit here, which is doable. Let's see what we got. Shot number 1. All right, there we go. Shot number 2. Okay, not bad. So the Scorpion's delivering 2 points of damage to that Centurion, starting to chip the paint. All right, I think we're going to see what we can do here with the Rommel tank. Now, this guy twisting his turret, firing at the Savannah Master there, going to need a 10, I believe. Yeah, so this is at medium range. So this Rommel tank here going to need actually 9s because of the stationary benefit there, -1. So just basically 3, 8, 9, 10, and then -1, 9. So we're looking for a 9. I have 3 chances here as this tank does 3 points at medium range. So here we go. I'll tell you. All right, so that one Savannah Master in forced withdrawal. The third shot, it's not destroyed, but that's a good start for the Atria Knights. Okay, also here, let's not forget we have a mobility hit. So what do we have? Absolutely nothing. When I tell you guys I roll them off camera and I roll snake eyes, I'm telling you it's true. All right, so moving on here, Commando can't shoot. The Wasp, I think the Wasp is going to actually fire at one of these LRM carriers, but I might resolve that a little bit later. First, I think I'm going to try my luck. Long shot, indirect firing against this Savannah Master here. It's going to get spotted by Death Trap. Yeah, just double check the math. It is in fact a 12. Here we go. Weirder things have happened. Oh my goodness. Almost. That is what I needed. But unfortunately, it is a miss. So now we have to make some hard decisions here. So here's some reliability. This one infantry platoon that walked is going to be firing at the damaged LRM carrier over the fence there. That is medium range. They do 1 point of damage now because that vehicle's immobile. They only need a 4 to hit because, you know, again, they're skill 4. It's medium range, which is +2, and then -2. So an important thing about infantry, they don't actually benefit from those optional range targeting rules that we use. It explicitly says that it's only, you know, vehicles, arrow, and mech. So conventional infantry is still using the 0.246, which makes sense to me. So here we go. Looking for it. So that's another motive hit, which of course can't do anything as that vehicle is immobilized, but it is stripped of armor, which means now we're going to move on to my buddy Buzz. He needs a 6. He's going to fire at that LRM carrier. He did jump, so he needs that extra bump there, that 6. So here we go. Gets it. Now I need to confirm the damage. Oh, Buzz, letting me down. That could have been big. That the vehicle would have been abandoned next turn. But unfortunately, the dice not falling in the favor of the Knights. So now Vegas torso twisting. Maybe she can get some luck. Extreme range at that last Savannah Master. She does have the weapon specialist rule, which means a 10 or an 11 will do the trick. 12 will do it too. Here we go. Onto the side of the Donegal Guards. This is one of those games where I feel like the Atria Knights are doing everything right from a tactics perspective, but are just losing on dice rolls, which is unfortunate. We've all had those games. Luckily, I'm playing against myself, so either way, I'm a winner. So moving on to the Guard here. I'm not sure really where I want to start. I did mark my 6 lucky points because I know I'm going to use those. I think what I want to do here is start with my LRM carriers. All right, now we are at long range. That means these LRM carriers are doing 3 points of damage here across that battlefield, so very lethal. And essentially, as long as I can do 4 points of damage, actually 3, if I can only deal 3 to that wasp, it puts it in forced withdrawal, and then I only need to worry about that commando. So either way, the Knights not getting any control points on that objective because that Savannah Master is still hunkered down in there. That is, again, the unfortunate truth here. These things are just very hard to kill, and I've wasted so much firepower trying to shoot them. But again, you know, no options here because all of these objectives, you know, the one in the middle and the one over there, just right in the path of those Savannah Masters. Very unfortunate. So what do we have going on here? All right, so these LRM carriers, skill 3, the Wasp at a TMM of 3, and long range, so they need 9s to hit. Here we go. We are, I think I want to chain fire, actually. I want to try to play it safe. That gives me 6 opportunities here. So launcher number 1, or carrier number 1, I should say. Not a great start. There's 1. All right, so 1 point of damage on that Wasp, the second carrier. I need 2 more. That's 2. Can I get this third one?
Oh, look at me, I'm like the gingerbread man.
So the Wasp, Buzz, holding firm, something like 160 LRMs swarming in on that mech. But armor is stripped, but it's still holding together. On to the rest of the Donegal Guard. Centurion and Merlin got their eyes set on that Wasp. Now the downside is I can't get rid of that Commando and the Wasp, so there's no way I'm going to get a control point from the Guard side here. Was really hoping those LRM carriers would blow that Wasp out of the water, and then I could start working on that Commando, but such is life. Need a 9 from Rhino in the Centurion into Buzz in the Wasp. Here we go. No good. I am going to spend a luck point. I almost forgot I had those, so we're going to re-roll Rhino's attack here. Here we go. Still no good. Unbelievable. All right, so now Blaster firing at Buzz. Just need 1 more point here. Unreal. All right, I'm going to burn that luck point. Now remember, guys, if you were paying attention in the last tactical report, I went back to the old edition of Alpha Strike because the Commander's Edition does not specify any limitations on the luck ability, but the older editions do say you can only use it once per attack. So that means per mech, I can only reroll once, but across the lance, I could reroll, you know, up to as many mechs as there are in the formation. So, rerolling for blaster.
Negative kill confirmation.
Who's had a night like this, man? Oh god, this is awful. All right, so again, lots of missing. PPCs flying. Maybe there's some heavy rain or fog on the battlefield, but either way, the Wasp taking 2 points of damage from all that attack fire coming in. That is unbelievable that it survived. And not only that, but I mean those Savannah Masters too. Let's talk about that. So points, guys. Nobody's scoring anything except for this. So actually the Donegal Guard do score this backfield objective. They're actually going to go up to a 2-0 lead. Forgot all about this. It was nice and quiet back here. So they're going to score this objective, but nothing going on over there in the hotspot. Well, we're going to see what's going to happen here. I mean, if that objective goes hot versus something back here, it's going to dynamically change the flow of the battle. This is going to be big. These next few turns, the Atrean Knights are going to have to dig out hard moving into turn 5. All right, it's turn 5. The initiative roll was a tie, and then the Atrean Knights won on a tiebreaker, 8-6. So now we need to roll for the objective. We've got 4, we have 5, and we have 1. So we're going to roll until we get one of those numbers. Here we go. So number 4, first roll. So this is going to go hot. That's a big deal for the Atrean Knights. Those Scorpions are going to be hard to peel off that objective, especially with the way the terrain rolls. So that's a big boon as we can continue to fight over objective 6 down there. All right, so the Donegal Guard are up. I need to hedge my risk here. There's no way I can get to that upper objective. That's going to be an easy score for the Avatar Knights. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with my vehicle lance because I know what's going to happen with these guys. So first and foremost, we're doing this. Secondly, I'm going to keep this LRM carrier stationary, but turn him so in case I want to nuke these infantry, I can. And then as far as the Savannah Masters go, I'm just basically going to shuffle them around the objective. All right, now remember this one is in forced withdrawal, so it did have to move 1 inch closer to its home edge, which is here. The other one I swung around up on the hill. They're both going to claim a TMM of 4. So on the vehicle side for the Atrean Knights, this seems to be a clearer sort of mission here. I would rather try to reposition Buzz and the Commando most effectively against that enemy mech column. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to check here. We've got only 1 Scorpion really within 3 inches. So I can leave this Scorpion planted here. He has nice vantage as well. And then what I think I'm going to do is back the other one up just a little bit. I'm going to try to get him in a position where he's within 3, but also has decent firing, because I'm going to expect these mechs to move. I don't know, though, you know, it might actually be better, to be quite honest, to move him back his full movement so that I can kind of see through this, this outcropping of rocks. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to put him there. This Rommel tank's highly valuable because in the case that the catapult gets destroyed, he's basically my capper for number 5. But on the mech move, I plan on dropping this catapult way back here. In case this objective goes hot, I need that catapult alive. So for now, I'm going to play chicken with the Rommel tank. I'm going to plant him, really want to drill that other Savannah Master, and hopefully get a control point on this back objective, because this one's going to be key. All right, so fun times with the infantry. I could move these guys forward. However, if I do that, the issue becomes that I could get shot. Now, I am sort of willing to eat 2 points with this infantry platoon, so I may do it. And I may just keep these guys stationary and take a shot. I don't think I want to hit the deck or dig in because I want to be able to shoot with them this turn. I think these guys have been incredibly effective against these LRM carriers. So I'm going to move this infantry platoon forward here. You can just imagine these guys running, charging down an LRM carrier. The definition of insanity. So those guys won't get a TMM because they don't have one, unless they, unless of course they sprint under our house rule. But and these guys will have that -1 benefit to shooting. So this Kestrel here, since nobody can see it, I am just going to keep it stationary at level 2. So I have some hard decisions here. Do I press on objective 5 or do I try to defend objective 1? Next turn, if 5 goes hot, it's going to be big trouble. If 1 goes hot and I move to 5, then the infantry here look like they're actually winning this fight, which is comical in its own right, but still great. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to move my my Merlin to here. This gives him good arc of fire and puts him in a nice position to support. The Centurion, on the other hand, is going to walk forward to here. So I'm going to start splitting these guys up a little bit. And then I need to get these other mechs back in the fight. So I'm going to sprint the Locust up. Thankfully, it's got great speed. Same thing with that Vulcan. They can actually be neck and neck based on where they started. And both of those units, again, will be sprinting. Okay, so after some thought, I think what I'm going to do is take this Commando, and I'm going to move him right to here. Now, my goal here is to be outside of 12 inches and also try to block some line of sight from these LRM carriers, but be basically at point blank with this Savannah Master. Now, this Wasp, of course, in a precarious situation, I want to get him as far away from everybody as possible, and I think what I'm going to do is just jump him again to here, try to keep that TMM up. I do need to keep him within the thing, although, to be quite honest with you, I can sprint him. Oh, if I sprint him, he can't shoot at all. So, you know what, I'll take the jump penalty, and at least that way I can lob an LRM or something, maybe confirm some damage, or provide a medium-range backup shot to that other Savannah Master. This catapult, again, very much in a precarious spot. I don't really know, and again with the loss of damage, I mean, IF is basically the best thing it can do. So I'm going to spend its meager 1 inch of movement here, in the trees, and just kind of back them up further into those woods. Smoke again billowing from this poor guy's chassis here, just trying to keep this mech alive and also not enforced withdrawal. Now, he is within 3 inches of the objective, which is fantastic. So if that does go hot, that'll be an easy control point next turn. And as far as Vegas, I mean, she's in an excellent commanding spot right now. And frankly, I am in, I believe, prime overheat position here for the Centurion. So if I can get a couple of shots on that Centurion, she could potentially put it out of commission, or at least put it into withdrawal, which I think would be fantastic. Or she can provide some cover fire across to those LRM carriers. Either way, I like where she's at, and that wraps up movement. So guys, we are done moving. It is turn 5 shooting. Coming your way next. Starting out with Death Trap in his Commando, trying to hit that little Savannah Master ripping by at 200 kph. Basically, I need 9s to hit, even at this range. Skill 3, actually no, I need 8s to hit. So skill 3 plus 4 plus 1. So I need 8s to hit, so that feels a lot better. I do get 2 dice at this range, unfortunately no overheat, but hopefully we can nail one of them. Here we go. There it is, right out of the gate. So that's Savannah Master, enforced withdrawal, the second one. Boom.
Enemy vehicle destroyed.
At least a moral victory. Okay, here we are. The airborne parachuting in, harassing this fire support line. So I'm going to take the infantry unit that moved, and I'm going to shoot the immobile LRM carrier, and then the one that's stationary is going to shoot the stationary carrier, and that's just to help with the modifiers, basically. So skill 4 here, immobile there. It is medium range, unfortunately. So essentially, I'm going to need just a 4 to hit. So that's pretty good. Here we go. Got it. So that's 1 point. on that that LRM carrier. That means that it is an internal shot, and it means that it is actually enforced withdrawal and will be abandoned next turn. So here we go for the internal critical hit. It is a 9. Now on a vehicle, I believe a 9 is actually a weapon hit. So that is that's useful. Although again, it's going to be abandoned next turn. So now moving on to the other infantry unit here, firing on the stationary one. So this is also at medium range. So it's going to need a 5 to hit. So skill 4 plus 2 for range, and then -1. So here we go, looking for a 5. Got it. So 1 point of damage on that other LRM carrier. Now that one has not been damaged at all yet. So we will get our first motive hit there. Could you imagine? Still, that is incredible. So that's going to be -50% to its speed and its TMM. So it's basically no TMM, and also it's going to drop its speed down quite a bit there. Buzz, returning fire, and that Vanguard there. It's going to be targeting the Centurion. So he jumped basically into 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 to hit. Here we go. Not bad, gets it, but can we confirm? This has been my Achilles heel here. So that's unfortunate. So Buzz misses again. I don't think I'm going to spot with anybody on this catapult here. So what I'm going to do is actually turn this Rommel's attention to that Centurion. I believe it is at long range, so it's going to be 2 dice worth of damage. See what we can do here. So the Rommel tank's going to need basically 3 plus 3, 6. So just a 6 to hit. That's not bad. I am going to group fire these. Here we go. That's 2 more points on that Centurion, down to just 2 points of armor. All right, so these light mechs in the back are going to get harassed by these Scorpions. I need a 9 for the one that's stationary, and then an 11 for the rear one that moved, because it moved, and then also that Vulcan has partial cover from the rise of the hill. So looking for a 9 first here. Into it. All right, so that is 1 point of damage, and in addition, we get a critical hit. Here we go. Can it be something good? A 5. That is a non-critical hit. That is not something good. So that Vulcan just taking a point of damage. That is unfortunate. And now the other Scorpion needing, what did I say, an 11, I believe, to hit. So here we go. Almost, but no cigar. So that Vulcan just walking away with 1 little paint chip there. Decisions. Now if I overheat, I can put that Centurion into force withdrawal. If I hit with everything, Vegas would only need 5s to hit because she is stationary. It's medium range, and that Centurion only has a TMM of 1. So her skill is 3, 4 for the TMM, 5, 6 for the range, and then -1 for stationary. So, do we want to roll it up, guys? Do we want to overheat? I think that I'm going to do it. Let's roll it right over here and see. I got 4 dice if I hit them all. Again, that's a big blow. That Centurion goes in force withdrawal. That helps me secure this side of the table here. Here we go.
Heat level
Let's
critical.
send these losers packing.
A crushing blow to that Centurion, but at the cost of 2 points of heat. That's pretty sweet. That is a nice hit. All right, so the Donegal Guard now up, ready to shoot. So, really, I probably should have shot with these guys first, but I don't think it's going to make a difference. The side that loses initiative is supposed to shoot first, but that's okay, because it wouldn't have changed what's about to happen. So I've got 1 LRM carrier that can see the Wasp through the woods. That is going to fire on it. It is at long range, which means it gets 3 dice, and this guy is basically stationary there. So really only needs 9s to hit. I'm going to go for broke here. Actually, I'm not. I'm not. I'm going to roll them individually. Here we go. Oh, man. Oh, no. You must be kidding me. Ah, gosh. That Wasp hanging on by a thread. So I'm going to have to devote some firepower from this Merlin to try to take it out. The Merlin is also, actually, Merlin's going to need 9s as well here, I think. Here we go. Just 2 points. Actually, now that I think about it, the LRM carrier, oh geez, what another whiff, unbelievable. All right, so this Wasp holding on, I think I miscalculated the LRM carrier's target number, but it's all right, it missed regardless. And this Centurion now, going to try to put that Wasp out of commission. It is within 21 inches, so long range, needs a 9, here we go. All right, so spending a point of luck here. Now, either way, I just don't have enough firepower to bring that commando down, even if I would have re-rolled with the Merlin. That's why I was reluctant to use the luck. But man, I just need to put this Wasp out of its misery here. Looking for a 9. Unbelievable. All right, so the Donegal Guard really struggling here. I've got one LRM carrier left that can't see that right flank, so I need to figure out maybe that Rommel. Maybe I'll put pressure on that rifleman. So this LRM carrier actually cannot see the rifleman. She is unfortunately out of his line of sight in the rear arc, and the catapult too deep. It's actually over 3 inches of wood, so totally obfuscated. That means the Rommel is the only real legitimate target here for this LRM carrier, unless I wanted to shoot the infantry, which seems foolish at this point. So we're going to put some damage on that Rommel tank. It's extreme range. I only need 6s, so everyone's sitting still here. Unbelievable. Only 1 hit. So that Rommel takes a point of damage. We will roll up a motive hit. Maybe we can get some luck here. A 10, not bad. All right, so that wraps up shooting for turn 5. Now, in terms of scoring, no one scores objective points. However, the Atrean Knights able to put a control point on this one and a control point on that one up there. So that's big. Next round, if they can hold off these Donegal Guard, it could be a tie game. But whether 1 or 5 goes hot, that is really going to tell the tale here. Although the Knights well positioned to take either. I don't know, this game could go either way, guys. Stay tuned, turn 6 coming right up. All right, guys, here we are, turn 6. Donegal Guard came out real strong, but as I look at the damage on the battlefield here, we have 2 lightly damaged mechs here, a Centurion that is in forced withdrawal, an abandoned LRM carrier the crew just took out and ran. We've got another LRM carrier that has some damage, substantially hobbled in terms of movement. Savannah Master destroyed, another one in forced withdrawal. On the Atrean Knights side, things aren't so bad. We do have that catapult that got roughed up early, but really, the Donegal Guard just plagued with missing against that Wasp, which, I mean, that Wasp, I really thought it was going to just disintegrate, and frankly, I'm tempted to try to retreat it this turn and maybe move something else in there, or just keep that Centurion, or the Commando rather, close by, because it only has that Merlin to contend with at this range. So we'll see. But what's going to really influence my decision here is this dice roll. So we have 2 objectives left, number 5 here, and we've got number 1 there. So what I'm going to do is just roll this dice once. If I get a 1, 2, or 3, this one goes hot. If I get a 4, 5, or a 6, that one will go hot. So here we go, guys. This is big. It is 5 on the nose. It was meant to be. So this objective will go hot. That is very fortunate for the Knights, who got a bad end of it earlier in this match. All right, so there it is. It is now 5 is now hot, which means objective number 1 no longer an issue. So these infantry doing their job, really keeping these LRM carriers at bay. Potential MVPs here, and if I didn't say it already, to rub salt in the wound, the Knights won initiative 7-5. So that means that the Donegal Guard do need to move first, and honestly, I think they need to start considering the longer campaign implications here. You know, I could try to push up and take out objective 1, but I've already lost 2 very valuable units. I may just want to consider withdrawing entirely. There's no way that I can get to objective 4. I really can't get anything there. I could try to knock the Wasp and the Commando out of commission, but even the Locust is going to be hard-pressed to get there. And if I push up on that catapult, which is basically unhittable right now, it's going to be in a pincer between the rifleman Vegas and that Rommel tank as well. So the Atrean Knights, again, well positioned on that ridge line, making it very difficult for the Donegal Guard to push up here. I think I'm going to move my vehicles, and by move my vehicles, I mean I'm just going to do this, and then I'm going to move this Savannah Master back. Now, one thing I realized, and I will make up for it, is that I actually did not shoot the Savannah Master last turn. That, you know, if I was playing one side, I probably would be more cognizant of these things, but I will make sure that at the beginning of the shooting phase, I roll for that Savannah Master against the Wasp, who had a TMM of 3. So we'll see if that Savannah Master can actually land a medium laser shot. And actually both of them really should have been able to shoot it. So we'll see what happens there. We'll take care of that. I'll make sure that that gets addressed. I'm sure some of you guys are screaming at your computer or television screens right now, but don't worry. I know certainly all the Steiner fans are yelling at the screen. So Matt, my apologies. I'll make this one up to you, I promise, buddy. But here we go. So on the side of the Atrean Knights, the Free Worlds League, I really only need to leave one of these Scorpions here. I had so much trouble with line of sight with this one. I do think I am going to move it forward. I need to spend 2 to go down. That means I can move it 2 inches forward, so I can get it to basically here. And I'll leave the other one stationary. Could move that Kestrel out and provide some, you know, potentially some spotting for the catapult, but I don't think it's worth it. I don't think it's worth the risk to that unit. Again, it's my only infantry transport in the campaign list, so I'm happy to just keep it hidden behind that, just hovering behind that building back there. And then as far as this Rommel tank, again, I think, I mean, I feel like it's really well positioned. Of course, these big bruisers don't move very fast, so the +1, -1 may not make a big difference, but what may make a difference is if I can get within 12 inches and roll an extra point, an extra die point. Actually, I can only move 3 inches because of that motive hit from last turn, and I will get no TMM, but maybe I'll get a little bit closer to contributing to the firefight there. So, all right, now as far as these infantry units go, I am just going to leave them both planted exactly where they are, and they're going to unload on that LRM carrier. Okay, onto the side here of Shatterlance, the medium battle lance for the Donegal Guard. The question is, do I want to really push up, or do I want to just try to shoot them off that far objective, try to make this a 2-2 game? So I think that's what we're going to do here. I am going to, the Centurion obviously having to back up 1 inch closer to its home edge, so we're just going to do that. This Merlin is actually going to move to here. And I'm going to do that so that it has angle of fire against that Wasp and that Commando. And then really, regardless, I'm going to be sprinting my Locust across to here. The Vulcan not far behind. Alright, so Vegas is up here with Queen Lance. What I know is that this catapult is just standing still here in these woods. I may actually leverage its indirect fire this turn, we'll see. I think Vegas is actually going to sprint downhill towards the firefight there, also getting her a little bit closer to 5 if, I don't know, somehow someone has a shot on the catapult. So she's also at 2 points of heat, so she really can't do much. So I'm going to move 5 inches. It's going to get her to here. Actually, you know what? I'm going to move her 5 inches closer to the action here. So we're going to get her like right about there. Still with 2 points of heat, and also again sprinting. Oh, wait a minute. 2 points of heat means she cannot move that far. So I need to move her back substantially here. So a sprint really is only going to get her to there. And then the TMM also is at -1 from the heat penalty, so with the sprint it will just be a 1 TMM. So that heat penalty, brutal, but totally worth it to put that Centurion into forced withdrawal. Now the Wasp and the Commando, this is where it gets difficult. I think I'm going to sprint the commando, so, you know, I can get him, you know, with a normal move I could get him here, so anything beyond that will get me that +3, and I want to kind of get him as far away from everybody as I can, but also be able to claim that +3, so that's going to be like right here, and he's got to be within 3 inches of this objective, so hopefully it is. It's outside of medium range. And then this wasp. Yikes. I think the wasp is going to jump to where the commando was, right here. So within 3 inches and of the objective, and then also claiming a +3 TMM. So that wraps up movement, guys. If one of these Avatar Knights or the Atrean Knight lights can stay alive, they claim 2 objective points and make it a tie game. So, you know, from the Donegal side, I know I'm going to be firing basically everything at these mechs that I can. So we'll see how it goes. But first, we are going to resolve those Savannah Masters from last turn. Both of them would have been shooting at that wasp, so we'll see. Maybe they'll be able to take it out. Here we go. Okay, so we went back to the footage. We would have needed 1-8 and 1-9 to hit. So here we go for the 8. That's a miss. And for the 9. This could have big implications. Oh, just missed it. That would have been interesting, you know. And I hate to have to retcon this stuff. I'm glad they both missed because obviously that would have dramatically influenced where everybody probably would have moved. But you know, the dice fell in the favor there. I just wanted to make sure we got that done. So both of those Savannah Masters would have missed last turn anyway. Now moving on to actual shooting this turn, we are going to start with the Savannah Master again, firing at this wasp. He is going to need, so he's at medium range, he's going to need a 9 again. Here we go. It's another miss. The Merlin. Ugh. Okay, so here's the deal. The LRM carrier over here is going to fire on this commando, and I'm going to have these 2 mechs, probably, depending on how the LRM carrier does, try to put this wasp in withdrawal. If I can land 3 shots, if I'm even in long range, I think I'm within 21, I'm going to have to measure. I'd have to land all 3. So this is an order of operations thing. We'll start with the LRM carrier, we'll move to the mechs. Let's see what we can do. The LRM carrier, sighting down that commando in the gully. I need 8s to hit. It is at long range. Stationary bonus as well. So I'm going to chain fire these. Again, I need to land 3. I almost feel like I should group fire because anything less is sort of useless here. But 2 could do the trick too. So I need 2 or 3. Here we go. First shot. Off to a good start. Second shot against Death Trap. We need an 8 here. Centurion Rhino firing at the wasp. Can he put this thing in force withdrawal? He is going to need a 9. Long range. No good. I have some luck here, guys. I have some luck. I need it. I'm going to re-roll Rhino's attack against the wasp. So again, looking for a 9. Here we go. There it is. All right, so the luck pays off. So that wasp now in forced withdrawal and down to just 1 point of structure, rolling for a critical hit.
Critical hit sensors.
10. So it's not going to kill it, but it does, again, put it into forced withdrawal and looking at a fire control hit. Maybe there is a mathematical way we can do this. If I've got the Merlin does 2 points here, so if I can land both of these, that will put the commando in forced withdrawal. So it did actually have enough damage here. I forgot the Merlin did too. So I need 2 9s here. I gotta go for broke. Yeah, I need big numbers here. So here we go. LRM5 PPC screaming in on that commando. Luck reroll. And just hitting the dirt. I think the Atria Knights are going to have this well in hand. They're scoring both of those objectives. They've got Vegas and Longshot, both near objective 5. The Donegal Guard, almost impossible for them to get there. I don't even think they can get within range, even with that locust, because of the hill and just the sheer distance with that Savannah Master and force withdrawal. So it looks like the Knights are going to win on objective points. So we're going to start with these infantry units over here on this LRM carrier. Now, they only need, because they were stationary, the one only needs 3 and the other one needs 4. So we're going to start with the one that needs a 3. That's a hit. And then actually, I'm sorry, it's a 3 and a 5. So, and I will roll, actually, let me do this in order, because it may matter. Grabbing the dice here. Motive hit first. So nothing. Now the second shot that needs a 5. Alright, so that is a hit as well. So that is a motive hit and an internal hit, and puts it in forced withdrawal. Motive hit's no good. Critical hit. That is a stunned vehicle, guys. So Buzz, as the jump jets descend down and he's taking damage, he's going to try to sight in with his medium laser that Savannah Master and blow it out of the water or the snow, either way. So he needs basically he's at a 5, 9, 10, 11. He needs an 11. Jeez, even at medium range, it's absurd. All right, these Scorpions are up. This top one here can't see anything. This bottom one can see the Centurion, but the Centurion does have partial cover. So need a 9. Need a 9 to hit. Here we go. No bueno, as they say. So Vegas is going to be spotting for long shot, and she's going to spot against that Centurion. I'm going to try to take this thing out of the fight and really just take it out of the game, the future campaign missions here. So long shot stationary, which is going to offset the indirect fire penalty. And basically what we've got here is we're working with a 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 is all we need, and it's an IF1. Here we go. Oh, God. Gauss rounds sighting across the battlefield. That Rommel tank needs 8s. And I need to hit with both of them to destroy this Centurion, as it has 2 pips left. So I'm going to group fire. Going for broke here. Can we make it happen? And that is the power of that Rommel tank right there. So that Centurion slagged. Now, interestingly enough, with the salvage rules in the campaign system, we're still going to roll for the critical hit, because that actually makes a difference in terms of what is left. That's just similar to how we do it in Classic as well.
Warning, internal ammo explosion detected.
Not sure there is going to be a whole lot left on that mech to salvage. Alright, here we are, guys. The end of turn 6. Again, all the objectives have been revealed. No more will be going hot. And the Donegal Guard that started with a 2-0 lead at the beginning of this turn are now facing a tie game. The Atrean Knights scoring this courtesy of the Scorpions. Buzz and Death Trap valiantly holding down the objective in the gully. So that's 2 points this turn. And then, of course, we have 1 control point from long shot on that objective there, with the Donegal Guard hard pressed to get their next turn to stop it. The Atrean Knights claiming their first victory against the 7th Donegal Guard in this campaign. It was a hard-fought battle. I thought the Donegal Guard were actually going to pull this out, but unfortunately, it didn't happen. The Atrean Knights staging on this planet as they move on to the clan front. The Donegal Guard trying to kick them out, but it's just not going to happen. The Atrean Knights standing firm, taking actually no casualties in this battle. Several mechs damaged, but good sign. And we'll see what other salvage they're able to pick up. So all in all, very good day for the Atrean Knights. Good start to their campaign.
Attention, Atrean Knights. This is not over, and you have not seen the last of us. Prepare yourselves. We will be back.
Bye-bye.
All right, guys, well, there you have it. Our first Alpha Strike campaign battle report in beta test, if you want to consider it that, in conjunction here with yet another tactical report so that we can keep bringing you guys some great Battletech and Alpha Strike content during this this quarantine period. So that was fun. Of course, Intercept, always a great mission, one of my favorites. Really keeps you on your toes, and every time you play it, even if you're playing on the exact same map, it is a different game every time. So very cool to see these two forces face off. Now, a couple of reflections tactically. The Atrean Knights really did not have an optimal force. I had too many mechs that just weren't fast enough. You know, that the difference between a mech that can sprint 9 and a mech that can sprint 12, it just ends up being a tremendous difference, because, you know, you can claim that +4 TMM when you move far enough. And also you're just, you know, over 2 turns, 3 turns, you know, 6, 9 inch, it really adds up quickly. The second thing is hovercraft. Oh my goodness. They're so critical to this game of Intercept, and really any objective grabbing game. Although I do really like the modification that we made to the TMM house rule, so the hovercraft can't just kind of run circles around the objective and claim that absurdly high TMM. So that helped to balance it out, but I had to sink and invest so much firepower into peeling them off those objectives. That made it really difficult. You know, I think if you're going to run a slower force in a game like this, you really need to bring artillery. And I don't think either of these lists have any artillery in them, but really regretting not bringing Longshot's Catapult C3, because that thing can delete Savannah Masters and Gabriels like it's nobody's business. So there was that. The other thing is the objectives really fell in favor of the Donegal Guard early in the match. They capitalized on it well. The other thing was the Lucky versus the weapon specialist. So the weapon specialist, always useful, right? Especially when you're at extreme range or long range and you only do 1 point of damage anyway. It's basically like a free bump in gunnery, which is great. The Lucky ability, sometimes it helps, sometimes it doesn't. Really depends how the dice are falling. I can imagine, though, if you have you know, like a Stalker or something with just a ton of firepower, like the Avatar from last week or that Archer 4M, and you know, you get a lucky roll and, you know, you miss everything, but then you hit everything, like that could be game changing. Tonight it really didn't seem to have that astronomical impact, but I still have these, you know, nightmare scenarios in my head where, you know, that one dice roll can really just obliterate a mech or a unit and completely change the tide of a battle. But so far so good. Now, one thing you'll notice is that we did not play with tonight any of the sort of force special abilities, the special command abilities, as they're called, and there's a reason for that. So I read through them. Some of them are fine. Some of them have crazy implications to the missions and would completely imbalance them. You know, like ones where you can move off the board and come back on, all of these different things. So, you know, in that regard, I'm steering away from the special command abilities. I really like the formations. I think they're balanced, but the command abilities, I'm not really sure. I'm not sold on them yet. I might go through and pick a list of ones that are sort of, if you consider them approved for play with our missions, but a lot of them really can really imbalance the game. And then there are others that are just super powerful in general, like losing initiative early in the game and you bank it and then you can, you know, use it to win later. No one cares about winning initiative early in the game because you're very rarely in range. So some of these abilities, again, very powerful. So we just steered away from those SCAs entirely, and you'll see that as a footnote in the rules when they are released. So that said, guys, next week we're going to have Mission 2. The Atrean Knights remain on the offensive, so they're going to pick the next mission. What will it be? I don't know. Maybe I'll try to pick something new out of that group of 4 that we haven't seen yet. There are a couple. Supply Lines is one of them, and then Operation Pizza Slice. So we got those 2 missions out there. Very cool. So we'll see. Stay tuned. Subscribe. Give us a like. Leave a comment. Let me know what you thought about this opening campaign mission. Of course, check us out on the internet. Since the Kickstarter is delayed, go buy some mechs over at Ares Games and Minis. Of course, guys, you can check us out on Facebook and Discord if you have any questions or just want to connect. You can find us there. Thanks again for everything that you do and all of your support. Try to play some games of Battletech by yourself if you're bored, or pull your kids into it. I tried dragging my wife into it. Didn't happen, but I tried. So, anyway, have a great night, guys. Hope you're all staying safe, and I'll see you real soon.